From post-touchdown dunks being banned, to the old sudden death overtime, and even more rules to favor the offense.
Roughing the passer. So there it is. You can hear the crowd. I don't blame the crowd at all. I don't either.
Are just some of the most ridiculous rules in the NFL. Because let's face it, who doesn't love seeing the game-ending onside kick that the receiving team will cover more than 95% of the time? Well, believe it or not, a rule was recently proposed by the Philadelphia Eagles this offseason to change onside kicks to an extra possession by the offense on a 4th and 20, and if converted, would get to keep the ball. Now, as crazy as that idea may sound, the idea was taken from the XFL, where after scoring in the fourth quarter, teams have an alternative to kicking off. And instead, they can run one offensive play from their 25-yard line. And if they gain 15 yards or more, essentially converting a 4th and 15, they can retain possession. And the craziest part is that it worked this year in a game between the St. Louis Battle and San Antonio Bandits, and helped the Battle overcome a 3-15 fourth quarter deficit, and was achievable because of this soon to hopefully be new rule in the NFL. Now, while that rule may be ridiculous, this next one is just wrong, and as if the offense needed more help to score points. In 2023, the definition of a launch penalty is being changed, and not only for leaving both feet off the ground, but by simply leaving one foot on the grass is still considered a launch penalty. Like as if Sean Taylor, Brian Dawkins, and Patrick Willis would have cared about this rule. But I get it. Player safety is a big concern in today's day and age of football, so we did some research and we found out about Dr. William Barr, NYU neurology professor, and he's worked as a consultant for the Jets in the 1990s, and said that the NFL has changed a lot of rules for the better.
When I started with this, there was an increasing number of injuries, but the game was changing. There was a push to have the big hits, to see a guy crushing the guy. Once this so-called concussion craze started, the NFL and football in general started looking inward to say, well, okay, how can we change things, change the culture, change the things we do to reduce the number of injuries? So they changed some of the rules.
But this new rule may be flying a little too close to the sun, with some players already complaining about this rule. And if you think these rules are ridiculous, they only get crazier from here. Which brings us to our third rule that didn't sit well with the recently retired Tom Brady. My man's has even gone on record to call this rule crazy, but wait till you hear what Grandpa Tom is talking about. That's right. He's talking about how this year, in the 2023 season, players not on the offensive and defensive lines will be able to wear the number 0, and letting kickers and punters use any number between 0 to 49 and 90 to 99. To which Brady responded on his Instagram story writing, "Good luck trying to block the right people now. Going to make for a lot of bad football. But let me tell you, unless you're colorblind, I think you'll figure out how to block just fine." And players like Dalvin Cook switching from 3 to his college number 4, Amari Cooper from 19 to number 2, and even Calvin Ridley, who didn't step on the field last year due to his gambling, but moments after the rule was announced, said, "Excited to be the first Jaguar player to wear 0. Ridley wrote in a post accompanied with a picture of him wearing the number. So as many players were excited to hear about this, many others were not when they heard about the next possible rule change, allowing the NFL to flex Thursday night games without notice. With that being proposed, it has received a lot of backlash, not only from the players, but from the owners as well. The response to this rule has been overwhelmingly negative, said, with several stars even speaking out against it. It's also good to see teams like the Packers aren't backing down from protecting their players. This rule has already been turned down once by the owners back in April, but is back on the docket this month in May. After all, when getting in multiple car accident like hits on a Sunday, I wouldn't want to have to do it all over again 3 days later on short notice. But I think the NFL may have something more important on their minds with that rule. But the last rule isn't one from this season, but one that's been changing the game for football for the past 20 years.
Pass interference. Grabbing him, but he is grabbing.
Defensive pass interference. Now, what started as a penalty to protect the offensive players and to prevent defenses from intentionally fouling receivers to reduce big gains on pass plays has turned into
when the NFL changed pass interference rules after the Patriots beat the Colts in the playoffs, where they just mugged the Colts receivers every single play. When they changed those rules, that's when the NFL, I think, officially just became whichever team is better at passing is going to win the Super Bowl every year.
that's true. When the rules changed, it did become very pass heavy. Like I remember Krug talking all the time about like whatever the new rule implementations are, like don't complain about this shit. Everybody under the same rules, like you just gotta go by it.
And ever since that beatdown Ty Law put on Marvin Harrison, the NFL has become more and more generous of calling defensive pass interference and having more games decided by this harsh penalty. Hell, even the Super Bowl this past year was decided by this penalty, and even a whole quarterback made his living off just throwing up streaks to Jacoby Jones and praying for a horrible flagger call. But you know what QB won't be making those horrible throws? Future Hall of Famer Bryce Young. And if you want to know how he'll be doing that, then click this video right here.